A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control.
Breaking news today in cryptocurrency. IMF officials have just presented a blueprint for global cross-border CBDCs. And while the International Monetary Fund says this is a good thing, this will help cut the costs of cross-border payments, make them cheaper and faster, they also admit this will lead to easier compliance checks and easier capital controls.
For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also, we will have the technology to enforce that.
In a direct quote today from Tobias Adrian, the director of the IMF's Monetary and Capital Markets,
in our view, regulatory steps should be taken to make sure that these markets are safe for investors.
He says on why CBDCs globally are a benefit. Our blueprint for a new class of platforms would enhance and ensure greater interoperability, efficiency, and safety in cross-border payments, as well as in domestic financial markets. The current cost, sluggishness, and opacity of cross-border payments today comes from limited infrastructure.
You should pass regulations to make sure that identities are captured, that integrity is ensured.
In fact, the IMF has always been pretty vocal that CBDCs are programmable money. Here's the deputy managing director of the IMF sharing how CBDCs would allow the government to precisely control what people can and cannot spend their money on.
The third way we think CBDC can improve financial inclusion is through what we call programmability. That is, CBDC can allow government agencies and private sector players to program, to create smart contract, to allow targeted policy functions. For example, welfare payment. For example, consumption coupon. For example, food stamp. By programming CBDC, those money can be precisely targeted for what kind of people can own and what kind of use this money can be utilized, for example, for food. So this potential programmability can help government agencies to precisely target their support to those people who need support.
And while the race is on, it seems, for the IMF to keep control, Bitcoin, the people's money, is only getting bigger. New, the $4.5 trillion in assets under management, Fidelity, is rumored to be filing for a spot Bitcoin ETF, following BlackRock, and to do this in part, the rumor is they're about to buy Grayscale to do it. And you know from our BlackRock video a few days ago, this is what will happen if/when BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF is approved, which experts do believe will happen.
BlackRock has had a huge success rate in actually getting ETFs approved by the SEC. Their track record is 575 to 1. So that means of the 576 ETF proposals that they have given to the SEC, only one has failed, right? So that is extremely major. They have a huge success rate. They don't file typically unless they're very confident that they can actually get this approved.
Well, now the floodgates are open with Fidelity, and let's remember, Fidelity was the first major traditional investment firm to endorse Bitcoin, who also quietly launched retail Bitcoin and ETH trading in the depths of the bear market. It would be surprising if they haven't already filed for a Bitcoin trust or ETF. And latest Ethereum news, many of you have been asking me about this. Ethereum developers propose raising the validator limit to 2,048 Ethereum from the current 32 ETH to stake and run a validator. Why are they doing this? Well, current low validator limits, 32, have led to waiting times of over 1 month, meaning the network is sluggish, meaning wait times are high, the network is slow. And of course, while this would make everything faster, Average people can hardly afford 32 Ethereum today. Yet, if you can, you get to help validate. You get to be in charge in part of the overall network. If this happens, it would truly only be exchanges or whales or whoever could afford this. The proposal was first floated in early June by Ethereum developers Mike Nutter, Justin Drake, etc. And today, the proposal is still under debate, meaning it isn't actively being worked on, it's just a conversation. I would think personally we want to keep the underlying chain, the underlying Ethereum network, as decentralized as possible, and then of course get the scaling from the layer 2s. But as I get more info, I'll keep you updated. The Terra Luna founder Do Kwon just received 4 months in prison in Montenegro on fake passport charges. And it's not just Do Kwon, it's actually him and his colleague and former chief financial officer was also charged alongside him and received the same sentence. And specifically, Kwon was charged with attempting to leave the country using a false Costa Rican passport. He reportedly told a Montenegro court that he wasn't aware the passport he was traveling with was allegedly forged and instead pinned the blame on a Chinese-named agency. So for the next 4 months, we know where Do Kwon will be. And to answer your question, could AI, artificial intelligence, destroy Bitcoin? Michael Saylor explains.
Yeah, the thing that backs Bitcoin is 400 exahash of digital power. To put that in perspective, that's as much power, energy, as the entire U.S. Navy uses in its fleet, about 12.5 gigawatts. And also, it's a fleet of 5 million Bitcoin ASIC miners spread everywhere in the world that generate so much hash rate that if an AI took over every computer on Earth, all the smartphones, all the computers at Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, all of those computers couldn't dent the Bitcoin network. It's an extremely powerful digital energy network. And because of that, you don't have to put $1 billion in a bank that's run in Lebanon or Argentina or the US or Turkey. You can put the $1 billion onto the Bitcoin network, and the Bitcoin network is nation state resistant. If all of China turned every computer against the Bitcoin network, they couldn't stop it. And so Bitcoin represents a new way to store your assets and in fact, the most secure computer network in the world.
By the way, Altcoin Daily, this channel will be interviewing Saylor again.
With regard to Ethereum, I think Ethereum's a security. I think it's pretty obvious it's a security.
You do not want to miss that interview. And be sure to join us for the Blockdown Festival in Portugal. Use code AltcoinDaily50 for 50% off your ticket. Link down below. See you tomorrow.